Y'all find Jasmine, Candace Owens. Let's get it.
Everybody, happy Wednesday. Still from home, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll be back in the studio tomorrow. Well, I'm going to begin this by talking about the fact that you may have noticed that I don't follow too many people on social media. And it's not because I think I'm cool. It's because just a lot of times I encounter some really disturbing things and trends that I don't really want to come across that often.
I don't know how I feel about Candace. Some things she say I don't fuck with. Some things she says I do fuck with. So I'm just kind of back and forth when it comes to Candace Owens. So if anybody asks me, what's your stance? I don't know. Legit.
And recently, I unfollowed someone because I saw something that was extremely odd and something that I'm seeing more and more an incident of, definitely across millennial pages. That is the anti-family, I love my dog more than I love my child trend that's happening.
And I've been seeing that a lot lately. I saw a girl take some food, gave it to her dog. The dog was licking it, basically saying, I don't like it. It was like dragon fruit. And she broke off a piece of the dragon fruit, fed it to the dog. And the same dragon fruit that's in her hand, that she broke a piece off of, that her dog licked, she ate it. Everybody in the comments was like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. Like, why are we eating behind dogs? And then it's becoming a trend like, oh, your baby, my children, babe. And I'm over here thinking like, oh, children, like your actual kids. These people are talking about dogs. Like, what? The world has become so lonely, lost.
We're going to talk about that. Plus, later on in the show, I don't know if you missed it, but Cardi B recently had a bit of a mental breakdown on Instagram, and I actually feel really bad for her. All of that and more coming up on Candace Owens.
You see, when Candace says stuff like that, like, oh, I feel bad for somebody, I do not believe it. I don't know why. I just don't.
So I get it. People love their pets, and there's plenty of reason to love your, four-legged critter. I once had a cat. A cat got killed by a coyote. It was actually deeply upsetting. Nothing against animals personally. They definitely warm your home. But increasingly, you're starting to see this trend of people that are replacing the concept of having children with animals. And I used to follow someone, and I had to stop following them because I saw them holding their animal and they were just sort of bopping the animal up and down, and that acknowledged that they were doing that to soothe the dog. Now, obviously, this does not soothe a dog. A dog is not crying like a baby is crying. The reason that moms do the up and down movement is because that sort of a movement can quiet your baby. They have gas. And it just made me go, this is weird. I've also unfollowed women for crying on the internet, things like that. Too disturbing for me. I'm not interested. But I want to talk about that because it turns out that I'm recognizing that happening across Instagram pages, and people are actually starting to see that, yes, millennials would prefer to have fur critters rather than to have children. This is a report that came out on CNBC. It says 33% of millennials between ages 18 and 36 said that they considered dog-friendly features, such as a fenced yard, as a huge factor in buying their first home. Just 25% cited marriage, and 19% said the birth of a child.
Well, the fenced home, who doesn't want a fenced home? Everybody likes privacy. Everybody likes to, everybody likes to have a big yard. Not just for their dogs, but for their kids. So I don't really think that kind of correlates to like this, but I'm just going to continue to let her talk.
So now when they are considering buying a home, they aren't considering a husband, and they're not considering a child. They are considering what that space would look like, how they could imagine that space for their animals.
Okay, I get it. So she's saying that people are creating their future with their pets and not necessarily a future with the actual family.
Not necessarily a problem, but we also are starting to see conversations and podcasters, a lot of women talking about why they simply don't want children. Here's a podcaster named Amani Wortham talking about just that. Take a listen.
When do you think you'll have kids?
I'm not having kids.
What you mean you're not having kids?
I'm not having kids.
That's what you was born here to do.
No, I'm not.
Why would you not want to have kids?
Why would I?
I'm asking you.
Why don't I want to have kids? I don't see any benefit.
For giving somebody life?
You have a kid and your life becomes about the kid. I want my life to be about me.
Oh, you selfish.
And that's what I'm saying, bro. The selfishness. Like, the what? And these are the same people talking about well, I want to get married first. I want a boyfriend. Like, you're selfish. You're selfish. Nobody's going to wipe that up. I'm sorry. You think you deserve a marriage and you wouldn't even take care of the child that comes out of you? Selfish.
That's okay.
All right. Well, I think you can say at least Amani Wortham is honest. She's admitting to the fact that she is selfish and she wants her life to be about her. Now, if you look at the comments under this post, people are applauding her. They're saying, yay, absolutely, good for you. And by the way, I don't want to say to some woman who is this selfish, is admittedly selfish, that she should have children, even though obviously...
No, she shouldn't have kids. Nope. You know, kids ain't for everybody, and I understand that, because we tell people that shouldn't have kids to have kids, that kid gonna be fucked up, just like that parent. So...
The gentleman is right. I believe that having children is our divine purpose as women. I don't think there's anything that you can get from life that is not going to bring you more satisfaction and completion than having a child. But again, not going to encourage someone like her to have children. But that's not all Amani has to say. She also holds a very derogatory view of men. Take a listen.
But what do you look for in a man?
I don't look for anything in a man. I don't look for a man.
I mean, when you meet a man, you talking to him.
I don't look for nothing in a man.
So what's happening here? Now it sounds like it's not only children that she doesn't want, but she doesn't even want to have a meaningful relationship. She holds a bad view.
So she just wants to be alone? That's all? She just wants to be alone? And then people will listen to me and say, well, what's wrong with being alone? Or I'm not alone. I got my mom, or I got my friends, I got my whatever. Your friends will grow up to have a family of their own, or they're going to live their own lives. They don't have time to be there for you in your life constantly. So it's like you have to create your own life. And I don't know when she's going to realize this, but hopefully it's not too late.
Men altogether. We've seen this before. You know, me and Matt Walsh last week, obviously I read him Megan Fox's poem book, another person who I think would qualify as a millennial. And she had that poem, just 7 lines of saying, I hate men, I hate men, I hate men, I hate men. That's the attitude that Amani is expressing in this podcast as well.
That's really sad. Like, that's terrible.
And it gets worse. Now, just to give you a little bit of background before you see this next clip, rather notoriously, the rapper Cardi B went on an Instagram Live and was talking about what she did before she became famous. She used to be a stripper, that's well known, but she also talked about how she would take men home from the strip club and she would drug them and rob them. You know, it's amazing.
And we've talked about this for years. And on top of this, Cardi B has committed so many crimes throughout her entire career. Even with the song Money, she has yet to face any consequences. Really. You know, she's hit people with chairs. She put a hit out on people that were sleeping with her husband allegedly. And like, she's constantly doing stuff to people. But as soon as you do stuff to her, she wants to take you to court. It's like, but she hasn't faced any, like, what?
She admitted to committing the crime of drugging men and then robbing them while they were asleep, taking their wallets, and yet she's still been given tons of awards. Obviously not a very defensible thing for any woman to do, whether you're a stripper or not. But Amani defends her actions, and I want you to take a close listen to why she defends them.
How do you feel about Cardi B?
What about her?
About Cardi B admitting that she
Good for her.
used to... Wait, no, that she used to drug and men.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Good for her. Who gives a f? They got robbed. They can get that back. They had all the money to buy this. They can buy it again. We're not even gonna start comparing getting drugged and robbed for some watches or some money to getting sexually assaulted. I'm never gonna be like, oh, we should be talking about Cardi B when it talks about like all the sexual assault going on. She didn't sexually assault them.
Okay, even if Cardi B didn't sexually assault anybody and she just robbed him, no crime is greater than the other. It's considered a crime. But it still doesn't excuse the fact that Cardi B hurt people and she committed a crime.
Okay, so the perspective that she holds is that it's totally fine for a woman to rob and steal money from men because in the world, men are doing things that are worse. She names another man.
And the thing is, if she was ever to have a son and he got robbed by a woman, her views would change differently. And if it doesn't, like, you know, but then again, she's not going to have kids. Good.
Related to Cardi B, who she believes committed sexual assault, and therefore that somehow justifies Cardi B doing something that, again, every single person in the world should condemn. What we're actually seeing, and I thought about this a lot in terms of millennials, is that brainwashing works. I am a millennial. Where is this perspective coming from? Why are there so many women that are talking about men and saying that they hate them, that they don't aspire to have a family, that they don't aspire to have any children, that they instead want to focus on themselves? And by the way, when you look at that clip of her, you can see that there is no internal joy coming out of her. This is not a happy woman that is speaking. I know it's supposed to be sold to you as this is INDEPE, independent woman. She's confident as well. No, none of those things are happening. What I'm sensing is actually a deep internal sadness. And again,
bro, she's beyond sad. Beyond sad. And the thing is, when she comes out of that, she's gonna look back and say, oh my God, look at all the stuff that I said. And I didn't mean. And it was because I was really sad. And I thought I didn't want nobody. I thought I didn't want to have kids. I thought I meant what I said, but I don't. And it's gotten so deep to the point where this stuff will be on the internet forever. Like, you might reach the point where you actually change your thought process and actually want to get married and have kids and not be selfish. But, you know, people might be like, man, I kind of don't want to be with her. You know? Same thing for Brittany Renner. It's like, yeah, your actions do, especially when you're in the limelight, it's hard. It's hard to say, you know what, I don't think like this no more and I want a family. But it's like, you be in too deep, for real.
how did this happen? Well, we are Generation Millennial. I think back to my own schooling experience. I think back to why it is that I used to hold the perspective that I should aspire to be a feminist, that I should aspire to climb the corporate ladder, that we do not need men at all in our lives. And fortunately, those perspectives were shattered for me before I could end up like Amani. And it really starts with school. The state began an initiative where once upon a time in America, women were learning home ec, men were learning trades, crafts, you know, how do you build your home? How do you take care of your children? It has been replaced with radical ideologies. I remember sitting in health class and actually learning about the climate agenda. I remember learning and watching Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth and being told that it was selfish and to aspire to have a family and to have children when the world and the planet is going to end. Our minds were shaped, millennial minds were shaped to be anti-family.
And that's why when I hear people say, I don't want to have kids because of the world and what's going on around the world, first of all, you know, yes, I agree. We need to make changes in the world to make it a better place for our children and our family. I agree. But it's like, if you're really in love with somebody and you really found the perfect person that is going to be a good wife or a good husband, and y'all create a beautiful life together, you can't tell me that you won't wake up one day and say, you know what? I want to have a kid with you. You know? You know, there's no way. You're saying that out of selfishness, and you're saying that out of something that you need to fix within you. When people say, oh, the world is shit, why would I want to have a kid? you know, or I don't need a man, or fuck a family, or F kids, you know? That's because you need to change something within you.
And now we are seeing the results of that everywhere. And it's even more pervasive because we have social media
Yeah.
where these clips can go viral and women can stand on that and say, that's absolutely aspirational.
And I fell into that trap. You know, I'm not perfect. I used to say the same thing. Maybe, yeah, I used to say the same thing. But then I realized, like, what the fuck am I saying? You know, you're gonna get older, life is short, things change, and you realize that you want to be old and alone, you know? And I enjoy my own company, but I don't want to be alone. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that. There's nothing wrong with saying, I want to wake up and have my kids running around. I want to wake up to my husband. I want to know when I'm pregnant that my husband is going to take care of the house and I can take care of our kids and take care and focus on birthing and my health. So that way, when the kid is born, I could be here. You know, there's nothing wrong in saying that, man, I would rather work for my husband, honestly. I would. If my husband was rich, I would work for him. You know?
This is actually a cancer that is happening in our society, that there are people that think it's cool not to have children, that they're trying to normalize, one of the favorite words they say on Instagram, let's normalize not aspiring to family. No, we should not normalize that whatsoever. We have to continue to talk about it. Because the truth, as I always tell anybody that watches this show, is that if you wear that cloak of feminism for too long, if you become like Amani and you become bitter towards men, and you become bitter towards the idea of family, you will end up sad and alone.
Yes, yes, and you will. Yeah. And then by the time you wake up and realize, oh shit, them teaching me that men aren't shit and I shouldn't want to have a family was a lie. By the time you realize that, like, realize it now in your 20s, before you get to your 20s, realize it, you know, because the women that fail to realize it when it's too late, that's a sad life. Now that's a sad life.
I promise you, that is, there's just no way. Forget if you say both having a family, even just having a relationship. I just want to be by me. I just want to be by myself and do everything for myself. That is the saddest way that you could possibly exist.
And if I was a parent of somebody and I hear my child saying that, what does that say about you as a parent? Like, when I see and hear these women go online saying, F men, we don't need them, I don't want no kids, I'm like, where's your parent? Why are y'all not having a conversation right now? Something is happening. Why isn't your mom saying, there's nothing wrong with having kids, baby? It's okay, you know? Where, like, what? Something is happening here. It's way deeper than women being bitter towards men and gender wars. You know, somewhere along the way, maybe our generation before us, our parents, our elders aren't talking to us anymore. But in a way, we kind of aren't listening because of our attention spans, our phones, social media, etc. Like, you know, maybe her mom is saying, baby, you know, don't say that. Don't make videos like that. I understand, but no. You know, you need to change your perspective because I will be gone. You know, your dad is going to be gone. Your family they're going to be dead and gone someday. And I need to know, if I have my kids, or if I have my daughter, I need to know that you're going to be taken care of when I die. That you're going to have your husband, you're going to have your kids, you're going to be fine. Because it's like, listen, I don't want to die or be on my deathbed and be like, man, my daughter's out there screaming, F men, da 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 da. I don't need anybody, you know, and crying alone. You know? I don't want to be on my deathbed knowing that, oh, my daughter is pregnant by some bimbo that doesn't really want to take care of her. You know? Like, where is her mom?
And that's all I'm going to say about that. This is absolutely amazing. Credit where credit is due. Paul Joseph Watson, who's another YouTuber, brought this to my attention. I was watching one of his videos the other day. But when we talk about the extreme narcissistic culture that has been created by social media, there is no greater example of that than this young man who decided to put together a fake influencer app to document how he gets treated when people think that he's famous. So just to be clear, this man is not at all famous, but he created an app that when people looked into his phone while he was out with them, it looked like tons of people were watching him live.
That is genius. That is cool.
Look what happened.
So I'm live right now with 42,000 people on Instagram. What do you want to say to my audience?
I made an app called Parallel Live that makes it look like you're live streaming with tens of thousands of people watching to see how people treat you differently when they think you're famous.
We're in Miami, bitch!
And immediately they started filming me. I think Drake just joined. Drake, come live with us. Drake. But then the girl that was flirting with me tried to upgrade to Drake.
Hey, come over!
I had to humble her. Oh man, he disconnected, I'm sorry. Luckily she got over it quickly. I then went home and took a nap. I then went back out to the most exclusive art gallery in Miami where tickets are $1,000. So I'm live right now with 24,000 people on Instagram. I was wondering if come check out your art event. Not only did he let me in,
This is just for the VIP art collector.
he then introduced me to the celebrities that were there. Absolutely.
Wait. When I talk about this is what I mean when people like the creativity behind this, the imagination that it took to think of something like this. These are the people that end up being successful. And it's so true. And I be talking about this all the time on my TikTok. These Sephora kids are running around Sephora, destroying makeup, having bad manners, stealing, ruining a store, interrupting adults' conversations, spending thousands of dollars of their parents' money on makeup that they do not need, and they be 8, 9, 10 years old. And I'm just like, yo, why aren't you doing what a kid is supposed to be doing? These kids are going to grow up and they're not going to have no imagination. They're not going to have strong careers. They're not going to be thinking of some shit like this. No experiments. Like, kids should be experimenting. Kids should be using their imagination, not picking up Sephora. You know, this is the stuff that we need to be innovative, creative, use our imagination.
80,000 people watching. They were shouting out their people. Then I became the celebrity and people wanted to be in my live stream. This day felt like something out of a movie. If you want to experience what it's like to be famous, check out my app, Parallel Live.
So that's the app, Parallel Live. And I don't know whether that is absolutely hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. Or just plain sad that he would be treated differently. I'm going to give a little bit of credit or forgiveness rather to the promoter because your job as a promoter is to get as many eyes on your business. So letting him into an art gallery, that makes sense. You're like, okay, I have an audience of 42,000 people that are now seeing my small business. Maybe this will drive traffic. But the women who...
Yeah, the women were OD. And notice the demographic of the women.
Are all over him, wanting to hang out with him. Obviously, I am going to assume that if he had wanted to, he probably could have taken one of these young women home, them trying to update and talk to Drake because they believe that Drake is actually friends with him. Again, I don't know whether or not this is hilarious or if it's sad, but I'm leaning towards it is a very sad reflection of the culture that we live in when everybody wants to be famous and nobody can appreciate the lives that they have.
I don't even want to be famous, bro. I don't. Like, I like living my average lifestyle. I like going to the mall. I like going grocery shopping and not people being in my face because I'm a celebrity. I like to be able to go out on dates in a restaurant and not having to hide in the back room because I'm a celebrity. Like, people don't realize, like, not everything that I do and everything that I say onto social media is being taken and used against me. I'm fine. I'm chilling. I love my life. This is good. I'm good where I'm at. Like, I'm doing this for fun, but like, this is fun to me. And it's like, women, you don't, or people that want to be famous, you don't realize how good you have it. For real.
Right? That he can create a fake app and people can get treated like celebrities simply because they believe that there are eyes that are watching them. I thought that was pretty amazing and just wanted to put that onto your radar. Moving on, you guys, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about Cardi B because I have talked about her many times on this show. Her and I have had various spats, and I recently saw a clip circulating of her having a mental breakdown, really, about her husband. And I just want to be clear that I thought that it was incredibly sad. I don't know what the context of this clip is, but I can tell you that rumors began circulating that her husband, Offset, who is another performer, was cheating on her again. So he had notoriously cheated on her once and she forgave them, I think, obviously for the sake of their children. They do have 2 young children together. And rumors began circulating they cheated on her again. She then took to Instagram and said this. Take a listen.
Cause you will talk to a mother play in your face, over and over and over and over and over again, and she'll be like, watch what I'm about to do, watch what I'm about to say. And it's so sad that a like to, this mother really like to play games with me when I'm at my most vulnerable time, when I'm not the most confident. He likes to play games with me because he knows I'm not an easy girl. He knows. Yesterday, I could have been out. I could have been chilling. I could have been this and that. He knows I'm in my house. He knows that I'm chilling. He knows I'm not doing the most. And I've really been sparing you. You've been feeling yourself, because of your album and and you've really been doing me dirty after so many years that I helped your Not even a thank you that I got for your And it's so crazy that I gotta go to the internet because whenever I tell you something, you don't take seriously.
So yeah, a lot of people tagged me in this and wanted to know what my response was because I have laughed at Cardi B a lot in the past because of her antics. And I just want to be very clear that listening to that, I don't know how anybody could have any response other than tremendous sadness for somebody that is going through something that is so real that her voice is breaking at the end. She's crying. And I want to just make something clear about my perspective on Cardi B in general. I've said it over and over again, but the media never runs the headline. I think that there's a lot to respect about Cardi B. She did not come from circumstances that made her life easy. She made something out of herself. I told you guys that my cousin made me watch Love and Hip Hop, and it was very clear to me that she was a star. She was very funny. She was very lighthearted about her circumstances. Things obviously changed when she became famous because it's almost impossible for things not to change. And there was clearly a lot of internal pressure, and Cardi B was forced into situations like notoriously interviewing Joe Biden that she should have never really been forced into by people that did not have her best interests at heart.
How did she get forced into an interview? I don't understand that. Do y'all understand that? All you do is say, I don't want to do this interview. You say, I don't want to do the interview. I don't get that. I need her to elaborate more on that.
I think that Cardi B suffers from the idea that she's not allowed to change, that the same Cardi B that was a stripper has to remain the same Cardi B.
And I agree with that statement, though.
That is now obviously a multimillionaire. And that's because there's all of this pressure. People always say to you, oh, you changed as you climb up, as if it's an insult. And I think the idea that not changing is the biggest insult. Because I get it too. You've changed. Yeah. You knew me 5 years ago and I had no children. Of course I've changed. My perspectives have changed because I now view the world almost through their lens. What is this world that we're creating? And my issue with Cardi B is that she's not changing and that the things that she is promoting are the very things that are destroying her relationship. Now, again, and I'm saying this.
That was the truth. We got to go back.
That we're creating. And my issue with 5 years ago, and I had no children. Of course, I've changed. My perspectives have changed because I now view the world almost through their lens. What is this world that we're creating? And my issue with Cardi B is that she's not changing and that the things that she is promoting are the very things that are destroying her relationship. Now,
man, that was a bar. The very thing that she is promoting is just destroying her relationship. That is true. Money, cars, sex, the club life. Candace Owens said, when you have kids, you change. Cardi B has yet to change, and she has kids. She's still in the courtroom. She's still being sued. Like, what has really changed about Cardi B from the time that she was introduced to now? Her money, but she still seems like the same person. She still has the same antics. She's still getting in trouble with people on a larger scale. And now she's losing her husband due to that. When a man sees especially your husband, sees that you're not changing, you can end that relationship right then and there, right? Especially after you've had his kids and you're still the same person, you're not evolving. You know, what does that say to him? It says to him, well, I don't have to change either. I don't have to stop cheating. I don't have to stop doing this because you haven't changed. It's clearly, right? And we don't know her personally, but just based off of the most prevalent things that they do show us, you know, she's constantly getting in trouble, you know, and still in court for things that she done years ago, but have yet to face the consequences. You know, her husband probably thinks that too. You know, he feels like he can't face any consequences with Cardi B because she keeps taking him back, even though he cheats, right? Because Cardi never takes responsibility for her shit. She never apologizes for the things that she does. She never faces any consequences, you know? So what are you showing your children? What are you showing or telling your husband? You know? Oh, it's deeper. It's deeper.
Again, and I'm saying this with gloves on because I mean this to be a larger lesson, but not an insult to Cardi. But when your music inspires women to live a loose life, right? When the way that you dress and the way that you perform is inspiring men to gawk at you and to treat you really like a piece of flesh, you cannot be surprised when the world starts to mimic that, when your own
And that's so true.
household starts to mimic that. And the fact that Offset has been stepping out on their marriage is, by the way, not an excuse for him, because I think that it's absolutely disgusting, especially as a father of two.
Exactly.
It's because he's a weak man, first and foremost. And it's also because I don't think that you guys adhere to what it means to be in a traditional relationship.
Nobody, honestly, it's very rare for people in this generation, in this world, to want a traditional relationship. We got to get back to that. But yeah, I do agree with her. And it's like, when I have kids, I don't want to be dressing the same. I don't want to be talking the same. I don't want to be walking the same. I don't want to have the same mindset. And I want that for myself even before I have kids. I want to be ready. I want to already have that mindset, you know. I want to have that mindset before I get married. I want to have that mindset for myself, my husband, my future husband, and my future kids, you know. And it's like, when you don't change and develop as a person, it speaks in your life. And people like, man, I'm living the same life I lived fucking years ago. It's because you got to change.
That has always been my critique of Cardi B, that she lives her life in a way. Obviously, just to be clear, Cardi B got married before she had children. That is amazing.
Exactly.
Cardi B is fighting for her family even as they go through this publicly, which obviously brings her great pain. But there are more things that Cardi B can do.
And that's what I'm saying. Fighting for her marriage publicly, that's what I'm saying. Being an average woman, oh my God. The chances of you being an average woman in an average relationship with an average man, not in the spotlight, y'all fight, the chances of y'all remaining together are probably more higher because you have less opinions. You have less people telling you all to break up, you know. Meanwhile, average people, we're good. We don't have as many people in our shit. We get to keep our shit more private. Less opinions. Less public scrutiny about if we broke up or if we're together.
So I just want to give her public permission to change, you know, to aspire to more and to recognize anybody that throws anything at you and says, oh, you changed, you're not the same. Why aren't you rapping about guns and drugs and strippers? And
the thing is, anybody can change. Anybody can change. If she really wanted her marriage, she could start by taking accountability with other areas in her life. And then everybody that surrounds her will start to realize, okay, through her action and taking responsibility for sitting a hit out on those girls that your man was cheating on with. Take responsibility over here. You know, maybe pleading guilty to the crimes that have been against you, because there's so many crimes that you committed that you kind of bypassed. You know, taking responsibility in the areas where you did wrong. In your next interviews, say, okay, I did this, I did that, I did that. You know? But the thing is that, Candace, when people choose these careers, they know what they have to do in order to sustain this career. They know what comes with this career. But because they want the money so bad and a different lifestyle so bad, they're willing to not change. They're willing to go through whatever it takes. If that means not being with the same man and leaving their husband and being alone, or, well, as long as I got my money.
Anymore. I don't want to listen to you. Yeah, that's called good riddance. Sometimes you do have to go through the process of a metamorphosis. And, you know, again, very sorry to hear her crying like that. I wouldn't want any woman to go through that. Moving on, you guys, to a really strange story coming out of Wisconsin. The University of Wisconsin chancellor was recently fired for making online vegan cooking porn videos with his wife. Now, I'm going to try to describe this to you. Essentially, they had a YouTube channel where they would cook together, and then they would invite people to follow them to their OnlyFans page to see what happens next. And what was happening next was they were so turned on by the vegan meals that they did the dirty. They were just creating some hardcore pornography. Now, somebody discovered this, alerted the university. The university rightfully fired them. But that's not how they view it. So to give you just an idea, by the way, kind of how old he is, Joe Gao, that's the name of the person who was fired, 63 years old, him and his wife, Carmen, who is 56 years old.
Yo, they're old enough to know better.
Leading a double life as porn stars. So that's already disturbing to me that we are getting into this area of granny porn. And they viewed their videos as sexy, healthy cooking. And he's basically saying that he's quite disturbed by his firing. He doesn't find it to be especially problematic that him and his wife occasionally like to make hardcore pornography. He's disturbed that it was uncovered, and he's quite upset about the fact that they've lost a lot of friends. He said, quote, "The family reaction is a challenge. I called my mom and she wasn't super excited." So that's not easy. Oh, yeah, your mom wasn't super excited about you and your wife making hardcore pornography while you hold a respectable job at the University of Wisconsin. Color me shocked. He also says that the reaction has been discouraging because some people won't talk to him anymore. He said, quote, "It's been very saddening to see some people abandoning us. We've lost friends." Now, to be clear, he held this role at the University of Wisconsin for 17 years.
Yo, he quit his job he got fired from his job of 17 years for porn? Yo, I would be mad as fuck at myself. Like, what? 17 years? Yo.
Remarkable that he was able to lead this double life and no one uncovered it for so long. But they are now seeing that there is some potential, that there is some light on the other side, because people in the porn industry have reached out to them to invite them to work with them. So that's really refreshing, Wilson told the news outlet. Yeah, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You don't have to have a respectable job. You can always just take your clothes off. I think it's really weird that he is defending the double life, and you're seeing this more and more. What it's really telling us is people do think that it's quite difficult to not take your clothes off and hold a job. People are just like, what is the problem if we're making money on the side? Why do I have to be a serious person if I'm the University of Wisconsin?
You know what? And the thing is that we have to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a porn star, or do you want to have this job? Because you can't have both. I feel like social media has taught us to think that we can have everything that we want. While I understand saying, oh, I can have anything that I want as a means to motivate you to go after what you want. But no, realistically, in this life, no, you cannot have everything you want. You're gonna have to choose. There are some things that you're going to have to choose between. So it's like the fact that he chose that, knowing that he has such a good job that he put time and effort into for 17 years, knowing he has a family, he has a wife, he has people to take care of, not just himself. It's kind of crazy.
And they don't understand that, of course, it is completely and utterly unacceptable for you to also be creating hardcore pornography.
People was almost to the brink of, what is it called? Retirement.
Like, that should obviously go against the teacher code, the chancellor code of every university across the United States. But as I've mentioned over and over again, we are increasingly becoming a more pornographic culture. Soft core porn is already something that we are completely desensitized to. It's in all of the advertisements. It's on social media. You don't even blink twice when you see a woman holding a Gucci bag on an ad and she's butt naked. You're like, oh.
And I'm trying so hard to kind of like get myself out of that. Like, it's hard because, like I said, or like she said, it's desensitizing us, and we're seeing it more often. And it's like, you got to have discernment, you know. And I remember I watched this video of this guy that's married, and he was like, it was an ad that popped up of a woman being naked or whatever, and he actually cried to his wife about, like, oh my God, I felt like I cheated on you. And at first I was like, but then when I really thought about it, you know, it's like, for people that don't want to see nudity in porn, you're forcing me to consume that by just randomly putting it out there with an ad or shit. And I don't like that. It makes me feel like I don't have a choice. And it should make you feel like you don't have a choice.
That's art. No, it's not art. That is soft core pornography. So what's going to happen now is generation beneath us is going to be desensitized to hardcore pornography. And that's already happening, of course, because we have OnlyFans and you have feminism and people
And the thing is like, how do we keep our kids away from this?
being told that it's a right. And why wouldn't you want to get your money? Who needs a family? Who needs anything when you can be making dollars all for yourself across social media? And speaking of pornography, you know, it is my job to bring you the most searched for fetishes. According to Pornhub, they release this list every single year, and they want you to know what people are looking for the most on their website globally. And in 2023, guess what the top searches were? Granny and MILF. That's a mother that I'd like to F, and DILF, a dad that I would like to F. So it seems like that University of Wisconsin chancellor is probably getting a pretty big audience. Completely disturbing. Perhaps most disturbing, though, is that 2023, they are reporting, was also a breakout year for artificial intelligence. Yeah, people are not even wanting to watch people when they are engaging in pornography. Now we are, I guess, moving towards a culture of people wanting to watch robots. Not exactly a great marker for where we are headed as a society. But
Ew. And I just want to let people know this now. I hope you stop watching corn, because listen, you need to stop watching it. It's so bad for you. It's so bad for you. Like, and then when you get the girl or you get the guy that you really been wanting and y'all do, you wonder, it's not going to be as good because you just jacked off for like 5 months, 5 days straight. And it's like, you know, and that's why people are feeling like they don't need each other too, because we have so many toys. Like, women, put the toys up. Stop, throw them away. You don't need them, you know. And when we take away the things that we use to replace people, we start to realize how much we need each other. So if I stop using toys and stuff like that, me, naturally as a woman, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to actively go and try to find a mate. And I'm going to find the best mate that I can do the do with, instead of replacing that mate with the toy. And I feel like if you have a toy, well, you're not doing that. Same thing for guys. You just stop jacking up. Because when you stop doing it, you realize, dang, like, I really want a woman. Go out and find the best woman you can, not just somebody to satisfy that particular want. You know, and the more desensitized you are with porn and X and sex toys and stuff, the more your wants for fetishes will increase. So that's why when you hear about people effing dogs and animals and getting peed on and pooped on, like, those are people that are freaked out. They've literally done everything, you know. And this is why I try to stay away from people that are like that. It's like, because guess what? Once you've done something, you're like, what's the next step? And that's natural for humans. So it's like, you got to learn how to limit yourself. Like, I don't want peeing and pooping on me or my partner to be the next step. I'm very okay with what we do now.
You should know it. All right, guys, now let's jump into some of your comments regarding episodes past. Yesterday, we covered Ariana Grande, and I have essentially been covering hoes extensively.
And I'm going to react to that too. She just called her a hoe? Yo, I've never heard her call them a hoe. I've never heard her call somebody a hoe. That's crazy. Wait, we got to go back and hear that.
Now let's jump into some of your comments regarding episodes past. Yesterday, we covered Ariana Grande, and I have essentially been covering hoes extensively on this program because it's an important topic to me. As I have said on other podcasts, I am quite fascinated with the hoe.
Maybe she's not as conservative as we think she is. Like, what?
Hive mind. I do actually cover it also because I think that we're starting to inch it back a little bit. I think women are starting to realize that living like this does not actually bring you any happiness, and that actually the greatest purveyors of the whole climate crisis that we are facing are women that have daddy issues. That is the truth. And I believe
that's so true. And also celebrities, like, it's easier for average women to realize what is going to happen if we end up like this, like with that we don't need men mentality. And it's easier for us to realize and see it because of the celebrity women, right? We literally get to see what happens if we choose money over family, you know, if we sleep around with multiple men, right? And we get to see it through, like she says, Ariana Grande, the City Girls, right? Megan Thee Stallion. We literally get to see that. So we can choose in our own lives if we want to follow that path.
Ariana Grande does have daddy issues. She has spoken out about her daddy issues in the past. M. Throw writes, as a man who has been married to the same woman for 42 years, you can't be, quote unquote, taken by another woman unless you let yourself be taken by another woman. I totally agree with that. And I think I said yesterday, I am not excusing, obviously, Ethan Slater. He did the worst thing because obviously his wife, Lily J, or his ex-wife rather, or I think they're in the middle of a divorce, loved him and trusted him and was with him throughout his career. And he is obviously an evil person. But Ethan Slater is not as known as Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande coming out with a song to celebrate what she did in destroying a family just ranks to me as one of the most evil hoe things I've ever seen in my entire.
Wait, y'all, I gotta react to it. I'm gonna react to it. I gotta see this because it's about time. Apparently, Ariana has been doing this shit for years, and she's just now getting called out, and it's crazy to me. Like, and that's the thing about Black women and Black culture. We are the first people to get scrutinized for a lot of shit that a lot of white people are doing. Like, and it's so fucking annoying. It amazes me, like, how the double standards, like, what the fuck? Like, why are we just finding out about Ariana Grande? This fucking world is messed up, bro. They always want to put Black people as a forefront of problems when a lot of people be doing shit. This is why I say it's not a gender thing. Cheating isn't a gender thing. Being fucked up isn't a gender thing or a race thing or an age thing. It's us as a whole.
Jules writes, I think Ariana's behavior comes from a place of insecurity, finding her self-worth by stealing it from somebody else. It's disgusting. The guy is the true homewrecker. Shame on her, but it doesn't ameliorate his guilt. A very sad situation indeed. I absolutely agree with this. I do not read her as a particularly confident young woman. And I think that is also clear in the fact that she tends to date very unfortunate looking men. Like her pattern is she likes to find men that are very unfortunate looking, and then they see her and they think, oh my God, I never thought that a girl that looked like this would even look at me. So they give her everything. And then when she's done with them and she's done ruining their lives and ruining their relationships, she gets bored and she moves on to the next man. And of course, that is going to happen with her and Ethan Slater. She's not going to marry Ethan Slater, or if she will, it's not going to be a relationship that lasts because, as I said, this has been a habit of hers.
And just look at her. She doesn't look good.
Actually needs to fix something that's happening internally because it's not a sport. Ruining people's lives is not a sport, and it's important to point out her behavior publicly. Georgie Skin writes, we live in such hypocrisy where we have tons of teenagers and adults talking about self-respect and love and all that. But the minute they see their favorite singer being an absolute degenerate, they go, yes, empowerment, give me a break. Yes, it's so important for me to stress that Ariana Grande has routinely talked about how much of a feminist that she is. She has showed up at protests. She said, my mom was a feminist and my grandma was a feminist. But then when you look behind the curtain of feminism and you start to recognize what it actually is it's actually a movement that is being run by broken women. And that is the problem. It's not actually aspirational for women.
And that's what I realized. When I realized what I was thinking, you know, before I changed my mindset, I realized, man, this is coming from a place of being hurt. Let me figure out where I'm hurt at. What is the meaning behind all this? What is the meaning behind me wanting to say all this shit? All this feminine shit? And I got to the root of it. And it's like, oh, well, no. And I realized I don't mean those things. And I feel like if you get off social media and stop being a fucking robot, you realize what you really want. And for some women, they really want that shit. But for me, I knew I didn't want it. So
they just want to see everybody suffer with them in the ways that they view themselves as having suffered. And for
that's the thing. Oh my God, I agree with this shit so much. With Shira 7, these women are already hurting. They're already suffering. And they work to try to bring the next woman down. They don't think, or they can't fathom the fact that there's a woman out there that can be themselves, that won't show their ass, that don't sleep with married men, that don't fuck men for money, etc., and can actually find a man that loves them and actually get married, actually have kids without doing all that. You know, it's because they're so sad. And then they go out and they tell all these women the wrong things to do because they're suffering and they don't want nobody else to be happy. You don't have to play all these mind games and do all these tricks to get what you want. You just change, be a better person, and pray to God that He allows you to get the things that you want.
Ariana Grande, she holds a lot of anger over what her dad did when she was a child. And so she hurts men and she hurts women. Jules writes, imagine wanting to be with a man willing to leave his wife right after she gives birth to their child. Yikes. Yeah, that to me would just be a deal breaker. I would find it to be unbelievably unattractive. And also, I just would not be able to put my head on the pillow at night knowing that somebody needs a father. And that
exactly, bro. And the thing is, people will do this shit and are realizing that karma is real, for real. You know, and then they wonder, you know, after they've cheated with a married man, they wonder, damn, why can't I find somebody? Or why can't I find somebody that doesn't cheat on me? Or why am I not in a relationship? Why I'm not married? Or why I'm not married to somebody that loved me? Like, you know what you did?
Person needs to be raising their children, and yet I've taken them away for my own selfish reasons. Lastly, on this topic, Tiffany writes, I seriously suspect Ariana has daddy issues, and since her dad left the family, possibly to be with another woman, she gets a high from leading taken men into temptation. Accurate assessment, Tiffany. Now, regarding tipping culture, which we covered yesterday, how extreme it's become, I am now staunchly against it. I will not tip outside of waiters that are actually busting their butts and serving that tip. Ghost Ranger writes, I was a waitress for many years and paid $2.33 an hour and really depended on tips. My so-called paycheck at the end of the week was $0 because the restaurant always claimed 12% tips reported to the government for tax purpose. Some weeks, if I had non-tippers, my paycheck claimed more than I actually had made. So sorry, Candace. I still believe in tipping waiters and waitresses. I'm not disagreeing with that. I am just saying that turning over an iPad to me when I'm buying a coffee, I'm out. Like, it's always 0%. And not only is it always 0%, it's an aggressive 0%. Like, I press 0% and then I look up and I hold eye contact. I want them to know that I'm making a conscious decision to say no more to this because you're doing your job. You aren't doing anything extra. Lauren K. Warren writes, I am outraged by the asking for tips at coffee shops on the screen before they even make your coffee and fast food places. I've started paying with cash only because they can't and don't show you that stupid tip screen if you pay in cash. It's been incredibly freeing. Lauren, I'm telling you, upgrade yourself. Find the strength to hit 0% and hold eye contact like this. Ladies and gentlemen, that is unfortunately all the time that we have for today. We will see you tomorrow. Hopefully we will be in the studio.
How fine is Jasmine? Candace Owens.